And now, let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akugha as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome to the program. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular host, Mamode Akugha. We kickstart today's package with an attempt to answer a question so many people are asking about the APC candidate in the Bayelsa State gubernatorial elections. Indeed, who is David Lyon? Moving on to trending issues in the Niger Delta, we'll bring you an update on accusations and counter-accusations at the Presidential Amnesty Programme office. And next in our lineup in this edition of the program is a special report on the Niger Delta beyond oil. What happens to the region when the black gold, the crude oil, dries up? And finally, in the program today, is yet another special report on the soaring unemployment rates in some Niger Delta states, which currently rank amongst the most heavily indebted states of the Federation, despite their vast oil wealth. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region will be back in just a moment. Don't go away.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Welcome back. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. Some Bayelsans have described the emergence of David Lyon as the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, as the best thing to happen to Bayelsa State. Speaking recently in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa State capital, they expressed optimism that the APC governorship candidate, an accomplished businessman and philanthropist, was the right choice of the opposition party to reinvent governance in Bayelsa State. In this report, correspondent Tekena Milfori tells us about the man, David Lyon.
The emergence of David Periwori Lyon as governorship candidate of the APC was recently greeted with wild jubilations in Bayelsa State. A cursory look at Mr. Lyon's profile shows that he has held no prominent office throughout his political career, but the man's intimidating popularity draws from the immense goodwill he enjoys across the state.
The man is for the common people, not for the rich.
David Lyon is the man that God sent to come and deliver Bayelsa. He's helping our children for scholarship, and a lot of people have been paying them salary. So the man we want.
Mr. Lyon, who hails from Olugbobiri community in Olodiama clan of Southern Niger local government area, is an oil magnate committed to peace and security, as well as the economic empowerment of his people. Thousands of young Bayelsans are currently in the employ of his company, Dalon Security and Guards, which has equally contributed significantly to curb oil theft and illegal oil bunkering in Bayelsa State. Through the David Lyon Foundation, the former youth leader and one-time caretaker chairman of Apoy Olodiama Development Center has offered scholarships to thousands of Bayelsa youths and has equally assisted widows in his immediate constituency of Southern Niger. Those rooting for David Lyon want him to replicate his towering achievements as a private citizen in the governance of Bayelsa State.
There is no single person in Bayelsa State across the 8 local government that doesn't know David Lyon's philanthropic gestures. He loves the youths. He has empowered so many of us. More than 5,000 Bayelsa youths are benefiting from his contract. More than 3,000 to 5,000 youths at the various levels at the both primary, nursery and pre-nursery schools are benefiting from his foundation. So I can assure you people will come out in mass to vote for David Lyon.
With the emergence of David Lyon, you see how all other political structures in the other parties are collapsing. You see the mass movement of people coming into the APC just because they know that the problem, the solution that they've been looking for, they found it in the man, David Lyon.
He talks little, but his action speaks more for him. He's a giver. He has a large heart. He's endowed with intelligence. He's a man you will always be comfortable in his company. Because of his candidature, we are all witnesses to what is happening. Everybody is rushing down. And what are they saying? David Lyon. The man did this for me. The man did it for you. Things I didn't know that he has done for individuals, they are coming out in public to mention them. Voters for Bayelsa State, the man who will come and wipe away the tears has come.
Among the teeming supporters of David Lyon are non-Bayelsans who are of the opinion that his emergence as the APC governorship candidate has caused quite a stir in the fold of the governing People's Democratic Party. While vowing to give him block votes at the November 16 governorship election, they look forward to a landslide victory for their preferred candidate in an anticipated free and fair contest.
Whether you buy Kekeshia, give us, we know they after you. Whether you buy taxi, give us, we know they after you. Whether you share money for road, we know they after you. This time around, now this very person, all our support now for this very person.
A man with a lion heart. A man that has come to release the blessings withheld. He has the foundation. Like when you look at the less privileged, mostly the physically challenged. When you go to his house, every morning, just go there. You see them line up. The physically challenged people, the less privileged, the widows, especially the widows. He see them as his own wives. He knows the challenges they face. And every point in time, he reaches out to them. David Lyon is the next governor of Bayelsa State.
Mr. David Lyon emerged governorship candidate of the APC after polling 42,138 votes to defeat 5 governorship aspirants.
Inside the Niger Delta.
And now away from Bayelsa politics to other issues in the Niger Delta. The South-South People's Assembly, SSPA, a socio-political group championing the cause of Nigeria's South-South geopolitical zone, recently alleged that the Presidential Amnesty Programme on Niger Delta has derailed under the leadership of Professor Charles Dokubo. The group had specifically accused Professor Dokubo of refusing to pay contractors an age-long practice of 15% mobilization fees, as well as colluding with saboteurs to loot the Presidential Amnesty Vocational Training Center in Kayama. In its reaction, however, the Amnesty Office described the allegations as untrue and politically motivated. Correspondent Lovely Ofigo has details.
The SSPA, at a recent press briefing in Ughelli Delta State, maintained that it was spearheading the campaign against the reappointment of Professor Charles Dokubo on account of his administrative incompetence. The group frowned at the non-payment of the 15% mobilization fees to vendors and contractors of the Amnesty Programme since 2018, expressing fears that the leadership style of the Amnesty Programme's coordinator was capable of derailing the peace process in the Niger Delta.
Our opinion is premised on the innumerable reports we have received on how most vendors and contractors who were awarded contracts since May 2018 have remained unpaid. After committing these vendors and contractors to supply insurance bonds at cost and later advance payment guarantees from banks even at higher costs, we have it on good authority that they are yet to be paid the statutory 15% mobilization fee. We are not sure if the present leadership appreciates the enormity of responsibility in pursuing and sustaining peace in the Niger Delta region.
National Secretary of the SSPA, Dr. Ayakeme Whiskey, who made the group's position known to journalists during the press briefing, also expressed misgivings about the response of the Amnesty Office to the looting in February this year of its vocational training center in Kayama.
Vandalization of the Amnesty Training Center at Kayama, where equipment worth billions of naira were carted away in daylight robbery. These are danger signals that could trigger uncontrollable volatile situations and jeopardize the gains of yesteryears.
In his response, spokesman of the Amnesty Office, Murphy Ganagana, admitted that the payment of 15% mobilization fees to contractors has been put on hold. He further explained that the decision was informed by the unbecoming attitude of contractors to service delivery.
I want to state that by the Public Procurement Act, the 15% is not mandatory. They were given it before to assist people to do their jobs You understand? But we discovered when we came on board that even him too was given to them. He was giving 15% to contractors when he came in initially. But we discovered that the process was being abused. You find a lot of contractors, they come, bring a company, and then when they bring a proposal and they are awarded contract, they collect the 15%, not for the people that are doing the job, but they go away with that money. When they squander it, they come back another day with another company. Some will come with as many as 4, 5, 10 companies just for the purpose of collecting 50% and then wasting that money. So when we discovered that that was what they were doing, and they were seeing this place as a cash cow where they would just come and collect money and go away, the prof said, no, this cannot continue. This is public funds. The buck stops on his table, and whatever happens here, he will be held responsible. So we needed to address it, and management met and took a decision that 15% will have us not be paid.
On the alleged failure of the Amnesty Office to respond to the February looting of its vocational training center at Kayama, Mr. Ganagana dismissed it as false and misleading. He maintained that the Amnesty Office, upon receiving privileged information on the incident, had alerted security agencies to no avail. He advised detractors of Professor Dokubo to await the outcome of police investigations carried out on the incident.
Professor Charles Dokubo visited the scene and addressed the community. Thereafter, he instituted an administrative panel that is merely administrative. The job to investigate what happened rests with the security agencies. And I'm happy to tell you that the Nigeria Police Force, which is saddled with the responsibility of investigating criminal cases of such nature, they investigated the matter and they have concluded their investigations.
Spokesman of the Amnesty Office, Murphy Ganagana, further observed that Professor Dokubo, a security expert with a doctorate degree in nuclear weapon proliferation and control, is fully alive to his responsibilities as coordinator of the Presidential Amnesty Programme and remains focused on his mandate to consolidate on the current peace process in the Niger Delta.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Governors of the 6 South-South states formally set up a regional economic bloc known as the Brace Commission. Under the Brace Commission, the South-South states sought to deepen collaboration in education, human capacity development, information communication technology, infrastructural development, agriculture, and investment. The overriding consideration at the time was to get the region ready for post-oil economy. The focus of the following report is on the progress made so far since the establishment of the Brace Commission almost 9 years ago.
Since 1999, the Niger Delta State's share of the country's oil revenues has increased up to 13%, but their increased revenue profile has not translated to improved living conditions in the region. The region's backwardness, in spite of its vast oil wealth, is blamed on a number of factors such as massive environmental degradation and the lack of a clear sense of direction in governance. In October 2010, governors of the South-South Geopolitical Zone, otherwise referred to as the core Niger Delta states, established the Brace Commission to promote the region's industrial capacity. The Brace Commission, comprising Bayelsa, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Edo and Delta states, was set up to develop a common pool of resources for the purpose of economic diversification to absorb any likely shock in the event of a post-oil economy. Sadly, however, the Brace Commission that was established to integrate the Niger Delta economy into a formidable bloc is now in a state of coma.
The Brace actually went under even before those administrations left, because they allowed personality issues to come into it. Who was going to call the shots and who wasn't going to call the shots and all of that. And I think that was responsible for the dysfunctioning of that laudable project by the South-South governors.
The comatose state of the South-South economic bloc has made it increasingly difficult for member states to achieve their economic potentials in isolation. Most Niger Deltans are therefore calling on the 7 governors to revive the moribund Brace Commission in the collective interests of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
This current government must do that document again. They must think out of the box. Now they're agitating that They are setting up a team that will go and engage the federal government to review the revenue sharing formula. That those states that generate more revenue should earn more, which is good. But any more revenue, is that the question? What do you use the revenues for? It's a big question. Why should the Niger Delta states not be industrialized?
When you form such a bloc, we expect you to pool forces and resources together to be able to take out things that you have not been able, that you could not have done individually. BRICS should have ensured that beyond mega companies, that medium companies and factories are established, that citizens within the area will buy off the shares from BRICS Commission and become the investors and make income, generate wealth, and inject value to the economy of the region.
Immediate past governor of Delta State, Dr. Emmanuel Oduagha, who played a key role in the establishment of the BRICS Commission, appears not too comfortable with what has become of the region's economy. The real solution to its economic backwardness, he insists, lies in the development of agriculture as a means of revenue generation for the Niger Delta states.
Knowing that oil is not a commodity that will last forever, for me, it was to use the money that was coming from oil to develop the other areas of the economy, especially the area of agriculture, in the area of mineral resources. And then, of course, the new actions now in terms of economy, that is ICT.
At the moment, some Niger Delta states are making efforts to brace up for a post-oil economy, but all such efforts appear to be scratching the surface compared to the giant strides made over the years by the government of Cross River State. After losing its oil-bearing status following a Supreme Court pronouncement in July 2012, Cross River State was rendered economically prostrate. Undaunted, the state decided to look inwards and made spirited efforts to develop the non-oil sectors. Fortunately, Cross River State has recorded remarkable successes in its agricultural revolution scheme. In June last year, President Muhammadu Buhari was invited to Calabar to commission Africa's first automated rice seed factory. The factory is expected to generate over 14 billion naira in annual revenues to the state and has the capacity to employ about 3,000 jobless and idle youths.
The roadmap for rice cannot be handled in a manual way. It cannot be handled in a simplistic, mechanistic manner. I knew that I needed to take some time and do a more engineered, a more structured, a more professional, a more modern thing. While some states were in the haste to announce bumper harvest and announce that they have gone into rice, in the old traditional method, I resorted to a proper research as a professor that I don't want to go into rice, but when I come out and debut that I've gone into rice, they will see the difference. But I feel the excitement that all of a sudden the whole country will now get to know that truly the Ogoja people, the Cross River people, are actually the #1 rice producers in Nigeria. And with what I have come in to bring for them, with the drying systems, the silos, the storage systems, and even the solar cubes, which is the new technology in the US, where farmers will use solar energy to store their grains with just $50,000. They own one. So I'm doing that for communities at different levels. I don't start unless I'm doing the very best.
With the development of the agricultural sector, Cross River State has been able to nurture and grow other agro-allied industries and now appears to have fulfilled all the preconditions for a possible industrial takeoff.
It is clear that Cross River has found a pathway to ease itself from over-reliance on federal allocation. It is evident also that by conceiving projects such as this, Governor Ayade has a keen eye for tomorrow, focusing on projects that are building a new economic base for the state rather than projects with short-term benefits for the purpose of making cheap political gains.
But for the sudden halt in the region's economic cooperation, the Cross River economic model would have been replicated in other states, and the entire Niger Delta region would have had a bigger and stronger economy, with a proven ability to withstand the shocks of a post-oil economy.
There's a lot that the region could actually attract when we do things collectively. than when we decide to go about it individually. Because what matters in the fourth industrial revolution is going to be economy of scale and size. It's not really going to be about the amount of resources you really have. It would be centered around your skill. If you have the accurate skill, that could attract the kind of investments that you need. And that's what matters. If they come together and they decide to come up with a seed capital to revamp breathing air back into that Grace Commission, I think that would be a good way to start it.
The reality of a post-oil era in the Niger Delta cannot be overemphasized. The oil-producing states have the option to plan for the rainy day that is almost upon them, or get ready to face an imminent economic recession.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Despite being the largest crude oil producers receiving a huge chunk of revenues from the monthly federal allocation account, the states of Akwa Ibom, Rivers, and Bayelsa have in recent years accounted for the highest unemployment rates in the country. This dismal socio-economic outlook of the oil-rich states is further heightened by their huge debt profile, as correspondent Chika Obodozie reports.
In a report released in April this year by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, Akwa Ibom State had the highest unemployment rate of 37.7% at the end of the third quarter of 2018. Rivers State trailed closely behind with an unemployment rate of 36.4%, while Bayelsa followed with 32.6%. As the report indicates, the 6 states in Nigeria's South-South geopolitical zone had over 5 million jobless Nigerians, making it the largest concentration of unemployed persons in the country. The unemployment burden in the Niger Delta, which has become most worrisome for the younger population, is the outcome of inadequate skills in the labor force, deficient infrastructure, low industrial activities, weak governance, and absence of opportunities to secure paid employment.
Because you know that in this region, we used to have serious, level of industrial activities. You can mention some companies that have even left, like Michelin and so on and so forth, that left for one reason or the other. And as they do that, they lay off workers, adding to the level of unemployment in the system. That is one part of it. But the major, reason why you're seeing this in these 3 main states is because of, this movement of people from their various states to this place, believing that when they get here, they are going to get, a source of living.
The growing army of unemployed youths has been an active agent of political thuggery, armed banditry, and other social vices plaguing the Niger Delta. It is a trend most development analysts describe as a time bomb in Nigeria's oil-rich region. In the midst of their inability to either provide jobs or promote entrepreneurship for wealth creation, most Niger Delta states are heavily indebted. In a recent report by the NBS, the oil-rich states were ranked amongst the highest indebted states in 2018. With particular reference to domestic debts, Delta State tops the chart in the region with a domestic debt profile of approximately 228.8 billion naira, ranking next to Lagos State, which has the highest domestic debt of about 530 billion naira. In the hierarchy of domestic debtors are Rivers State with a debt profile of 225.5 billion naira, Akwa Ibom 198.6 billion naira, Cross River 167.9 billion naira, and Bayelsa State with a debt profile of 130 billion naira. In terms of external borrowings, Edo and Cross River are ranked amongst the 10 highest indebted states in the country with debt profiles of 276.2 and 188.7 billion naira respectively.
If you borrow this money, whether domestic or external borrowing, there is nothing to show. There is nothing. The high rate of unemployment, there is no electricity that any place can say that apart from the national grid. The state itself has abdicated their role. What is draining money from these states is their involvement in national politics.
The monies that the PDP used to buy votes in Ekiti came from 3 states. I said it's from the 13% derivation of the Niger Delta money.
The huge debt profile of the Niger Delta states is in spite of their lion's share of the monthly federal allocations, based on 13% derivation principle. Given the staggering eternally generated revenues accruing to the coffers of the Niger Delta state on a monthly basis, some Niger Deltans are of the opinion that their state governments are not justified in borrowing to fund projects and provide other essential services. This position is buttressed by the Economic Confidential, which rates Rivers, Delta and Edo states among the top 10 states with impressive IGR in its annual States Viability Index report of May 2019.
You have problem with leadership and our leadership recruitment process. You have to have leadership. Leadership that understands its vision. Leadership that understands what it wants to do. Leadership that understands what development is all about. Leadership that can communicate its vision, its goals, its objectives to the people and then carry the people along.
The soaring unemployment rate and huge debt profile of Nigeria's oil-rich states constitute a paradox of economic backwardness in the midst of plenty. Sadly, the region's abundant resources are cornered by some privileged few at the expense of the ordinary people. The onus is on the respective state governments to take urgent steps to get their fiscal policies right, with a view to averting complete economic collapse in the event of post-oil economy.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Well, that's the size of today's package on Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. Program will be back on the screen same time, same station next week. In the meantime, you can follow us on our social media handles showing right now on your screen. My name is Mamode Akugha. Thank you all so much for watching and bye for now.